Hi, Brandon Walker. More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country. Feeling good. What a night that was. What an incredible night at the Humphrey Coliseum. If I look like I'm uncomfortable, I'm jammed in here behind the TV's closer to me than it's ever been. I don't know what. But I like Brandon Walker right there by my head. Yeah, what a night at the Humphrey Coliseum. Mississippi State 67, South Carolina 53. It started out rough, didn't it? Started out rough. Carolina jumped on us good, but toughness, composure, poise, skill, whatever word you want to use to describe what State did yesterday, what State's women's basketball team is about, it'll work. Just an incredible, from the superstar Victoria Vivians taking the team on her back in the first half to role players like Chloe Bibby, Schaefer, Jasmine Holmes coming off the bench and helping. Schaefer didn't come off the bench, but the rest coming off the bench and helping Mississippi State, helping Victoria Vivians get us across the finish line. The biggest crowd in the history of the Humphrey Coliseum. It's amazing. Mark Templeton, listen, I'm sorry if I led you to believe you were getting the helmet. I'm going to auction the helmet off to help with Cesar Perez's medical funds. So if you only come here because you want me to send you a free helmet, I apologize, Mark. I didn't mean to tell you that. Then Cesar got hurt. I want to give him the helmet. That's all. Hail State from Vosburg, Mississippi, says Stephen Mills. Haven't seen Vosburg here before. I think Vosburg is on 59, right? Isn't it on 59 between Meridian and Hattiesburg? I could be wrong. Complete team effort, says Stan C. Riddle. Paula Pay says last night was incredible. It was. I watched it on TV. Now, some of you might have been there. But on TV, it came across as one of the greatest Mississippi State crowds of all time. I started to think, what are our greatest crowds of all time? Certainly in baseball, we've had several. In basketball, we haven't really had one in the last, 10 years. But last night, we had one for women's basketball. Stan C. Riddle says Columbus. Hail State from College Station, says Jonathan Simmons. Hail State from Lafayette County. Was one of the 10,794 to see the game last night. John Burnett. Hail State from Shibuya. It's never a party till Shibuya gets here. Stephen Stafford was there. Prediction on the crowd tonight, 6,500, 7,000, something like that. Hail State from Nashville. Great win last night. Lance Chain says maybe the men will keep the momentum going. Yeah, what's the number now? So the women are 24-0. The men are 17-6, so that's 41-6. There have been 47 games played by Mississippi State men's and women's basketball this year, and we've won 41 of them. That's really good. I don't know if you could go back in time. What year did Sharon Fanning take the women's team to the Sweet 16? And they must have been good that year, and I think State men were good that year. I wonder what the combined record was that year. Never looked at me. I wonder what the combined record was that year. So we're going to talk about women's basketball. That's going to be the number one topic today. Then we're going to talk recruiting. We'll have Steve Robertson on the show. We'll be calling him at straight up 12, 11 your time. And we'll talk because signing day is tomorrow. It's hard to imagine that signing day has kind of had its thunder stolen from women's basketball and men's basketball, but here we are. Definitely more buzz about those two things than about signing day. And Tim Franks is bidding $200. And on today's top 5, this was fun to me. I got to thinking, are we in the golden age of Mississippi State sports right now, or one of them? What has happened? Look at what's happened in the last 5 years alone. Everything that's happened. You're talking about playing for national titles, winning SEC titles in baseball. Today's top 5 are the top 5 things that happened in the last 5 years at Mississippi State. And I just want to paint a picture of you of how good it is right now. The only thing that hasn't been good has been men's basketball, and finally that seems to be waking up. Hail State, Tupelo, Mississippi. Hello, Christopher Stewart. Chuck Ford is in Summit. The girls got me fired up enough to watch the men's game tonight for the first time in a couple of years, says Patrick Thompson. I was already fired up enough to watch the men, but I hear you. Definitely trending up, says Wade Glass of the men's basketball program. So, Terp, we'll talk women's basketball at first. Welcome back, Terp.
Thank you. Nice to be back.
And thank goodness for the fact that you're back. just for the fact that Landshark doesn't have a mic today.
Yep, I took it over.
And I think everybody's happy about that. Did you see I don't know if you were watching, but I spilled my water yesterday.
Did you?
My Mississippi State cup spilled it. It dove right off of here.
I watched for like 3 minutes.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
If I spilled my water right now and was doing the show, would you go get me another water?
I would send someone else to get you water.
But you would make sure I got another water.
Yeah, you're the host. Bonus points.
Number 1 in the top 5, Brandon Walker and more Cowbell. Wow, Danny E. Pinter knows the way to my heart. Yeah, I didn't even put that in the top 5. But certainly more Cowbell and Brandon Walker have come on the scene in the last 5 years, so you're right. Definitely applies. Hail State from Columbus. Number 1, last night's win against South Carolina. I don't think that's number 1, says Micah Halfacre. I think it's not in the top 5, but women's basketball is in the top 5. Pretty easy if you think about it, the top 5 things that have happened in the last 5 years. We need to get the show going, but just give me some guesses. What do you think the top 5 things that happened in the last 5 years in all of Mississippi State athletics are? Did you ever get your sweet tea last night? I went and got some. Number 1, Terp. Apparently Terp is
yes.
Terp is important. True worker loyalty in that Terp fella. Everybody likes you all of a sudden.
Thanks, guys.
They hated you before you left. Now you're gone a day. And,
I had to miss a day. And
you're going to be gone tomorrow too, though, right?
Yes, I'll be doing.
We will be an hour later tomorrow because it's signing day, and I'm getting out of the way of a Georgia show and a couple of other shows. We'll be an hour later tomorrow. We'll be at 12:45 Central Time. I'm sorry, 12:45 Eastern Time, 11:45 Central Time. So 1 hour later. Please set your clocks for that. Although, do people still set their clocks? I guess you set your phone now.
Probably just set a reminder.
Or probably just
get the notification.
Just remember.
Just get a notification.
Get a notification. Whenever Facebook tells you to come watch the video, come watch the video.
There you go.
How is your coworker doing? I got to get to the show, but I saw Cesar last night, and he is starting physical therapy. He is in a wheelchair now. He is moving around a little bit. He's getting there. Slowly but surely, he is getting there. Going to be a long road back, but he will indeed make it back at some point. All right, Terp, are you ready?
Always.
Well, if you're always ready, let's go.
The More Cowbell Show, brought to you by SEC Country. And now, your host of the More Cowbell Show, Brandon Walker.
That's me, Brandon Walker, More Cowbell. The Mississippi State Podcast presented by SEC Country. I chose the loud one today because what a day, what a night. Mississippi State women's basketball, a historic night at the Humphrey Coliseum, sets the record not only for women's basketball, but for the Humphrey Coliseum. I think we built that thing in 1975, 76, somewhere around in there, and it never had a bigger crowd than it had last night. And what a night. What a great win for Mississippi State. It was definitely a rough game to start off with. South Carolina brought it, but our girls responded, our team responded. Very proud, and we will talk about that. That'll be our first segment. Signing day is tomorrow. Might not feel like it. Doesn't feel like a normal signing day, and it's not a normal signing day. We'll have Steve Robertson on the show to talk about that. Men's basketball, big opportunity tonight against Alabama. Today's top 5, are we living in somewhat of a golden age of Mississippi State sports? Because just think of the things that have happened in the last 5 years. I'll have that top 5. The top 5 things that have happened to Mississippi State athletics in the last 5 years. But we're starting off with women's basketball. We're starting off with a team that lost to South Carolina 3 times last year in the regular season for an SEC tournament championship and for the national title. And South Carolina was a different animal last year. Well, Mississippi State's a different animal this year. State's better than they were last year. South Carolina, not so much. But we had this game circled for a long time. We had South Carolina's trip circled as a fan base, as a team, I'm sure as a coaching staff. February 5th, 2018, they had to come play us. and it didn't go well for them. South Carolina started off well. They started off hot, made 6 of their first 7 shots, took an 11-point lead in the first half. But Victoria Vivians, the superstar of this team, and I think she has firmly identified or established herself as the player on this team. Tiara McCowan has that potential as well, but right now it is Victoria Vivian's team, and she's got so much help. She put the team on her back in the first half, scoring 18 first-half points and willing the team to being in the game at halftime. Without her doing that, I don't know that we win the game, but she kind of kept the car in the middle of the road. She kept everything going the right direction, and in the second half, she finally got some help. Down early. What toughness from this team. What poise. What composure. You're playing in front of 11,000 people. Nobody in that building had ever played in front of that many people. You're playing in front of all those people. You're playing in front of a jacked crowd, and I'm sure there were some nerves. I'm sure there was some trepidation, but Victoria Vivians, again, fought the team through it, and by the second half, that crowd was having an effect on South Carolina. Victoria Vivians was amazing. The role players, and I hesitate to even call them role players because there's a negative connotation in role players, and there's nothing negative about what these players bring to the table for state. Blair Schaefer has become somebody that when it gets tough, she almost routinely bails Mississippi State out. She did it at Missouri. She did it against South Carolina, 12 points in the second half. It's those back-to-back threes to really give Mississippi State control. She'll make defensive plays. She is as tough a basketball player, pound for pound, as we've ever had in Mississippi State. And she was remarkable last night. Chloe Bibby, Jasmine Holmes, both come off the bench, both do a remarkable job. And when you have players like that, I said this on Twitter, good teams have stars like Victoria Vivians. Good teams have stars like Tiara McCowan. Championship teams have players, experienced role players who aren't scared of anything, who aren't going to let your team lose, who when the chips are down and they have to step up and make plays to win games, they're going to do it. And that's exactly what happened last night. This is not a good team. It's not a great team. It's a championship level team. It's a team that very well may have won the SEC championship last night, will be favored to win the SEC tournament championship, and will be a favorite to go to Columbus, Ohio, and lock horns with UConn again. It feels like these two teams are on a collision course. These two teams have separated themselves as the best in the country. And I've said it on the show a million times, but can you just step back and look? Can you have ever imagined in a million years that women's basketball would build and ascend to this throne at Mississippi State? It was always a sport that just never really got any traction at State, not because the fan base wasn't really about it, just because the team never really did anything and the fan base never responded. But as soon as Schaefer started building, the fans showed up, and more fans showed up. He built some more, and it all builds up to last night, this incredible celebration of basketball at Mississippi State. It was on ESPN2. It wasn't stuck on the SEC network. Everybody saw it. Everybody saw Vic Schaefer get on the mic at the end and say, these girls played a hell of a game. Praise the Lord and go Dogs. It was such an amazing night to be a Mississippi State fan. It's one of those nights that makes you realize, it is really special to be a State fan. These players, these coaches, these fans, I had goosebumps at the end when he got that mic. I was so proud to be a Mississippi State Bulldog. It was just one of those things that I could go on and on and on and on and on about it. But 24-0, a multiple game lead in the SEC, beating South Carolina, the team that gave you fits last year. And I want to say one more thing about Dawn Staley. I think Dawn Staley, if you watch her on the sideline, her antics are awful. I don't like the way she coaches. However, at the handshake and in the press conference, that woman was all class. She walked up to Vic Schaefer, and you could clearly lip read, "I'm happy for you." You could clearly see that it was an emotional hug. And Dawn Staley, I thought, was all class. And it was an incredible night for Mississippi State, one of the best nights in basketball history at Mississippi State. We'll circle back to basketball in just a minute. But let me bring in my guest today. Signing day is tomorrow. Now, it might not feel like that. And before I even get to signing day, I got to ask Steve Robertson of genespage.com, scout.com. I got to ask Steve Robertson. Steve, you were in that building last night. What was it like?
It's incredible. It was everything that we hoped it would be and more. And it was one of those nights you just felt like Mississippi State couldn't lose. And of course, it looked a little shaky early in that first quarter, but you just knew that they would find a way. And I think the crowd really, really had an impact on the ball game because you could visibly see sometimes South Carolina kind of wince when something would happen good for Mississippi State or a call would go State's way. The crowd was just on top of the ball game, and it was great to see, and it was great to see Mississippi State fans really turn out for what was a memorable night, and something that I think that everybody will remember for a long, long time.
Yeah, I don't know if the bigger story is State beating number 7 South Carolina or just the Humphrey Coliseum springing back to life like that and supporting this team. It was really special, and I wasn't there, but I can only imagine how great it was, Steve.
Well, I'll tell you, I think, looking at what South Carolina had coming back and what State had coming back, I think many of us thought shortly after the national championship game, you know what, we're going to get them at our place next year. And my big worry leading into the ball game, Brandon, was have we made too much of this? Have we made this too much of a spectacle? Have we put so much emphasis on this that, and we almost dropped that game in Missouri, and I was kind of worried about that being a bit of a trap game because Missouri's a very, very good basketball team. And quite frankly, the last time we went up there, they beat us, and beat us pretty good. And so I worried that we weren't making the moment, that perhaps we're making the moment a little bit too big, but State rose to the level of expectations, and the moment wasn't too big for them, and I really feel like this was a big stepping stone for them. And I asked Victoria Vivigans in postgame, as a senior, she had never beaten them, and how does it feel to finally to get that one? Because last year they had beat us 3 times, and she said she went in the crowd, and her dad looked at her and said, "You know what? You finally got that monkey off your back." And that's kind of how the whole night felt. It's like this is our longtime nemesis. They've always had our number, and then all of a sudden we feel like this is our best team, and then we drag the defending national champs into our backyard and beat them to death. And so I think it was kind of a coming-of-age moment for Mississippi State women's basketball.
We're going to transition to recruiting, but I just want to say, you talked about were you scared the moment was too big for this team, and I got to be honest, I was a little scared about that too, especially first, but I think we learned that no moment is too big for this team. They've been through too much. They've done too much. I don't think any moment's too big for this team. Now, let's go ahead and talk recruiting. Signing day is tomorrow, and it's the quietest lead up to signing day maybe in the history of recruiting. Most of that is due to the fact that 15 players are already signed for Mississippi State, and 75% of the 4- and 5-star players in the country are already signed. So you don't have a lot of excitement going into tomorrow. What are you feeling? Is it just weirdly quiet to you?
It does feel a little different. Usually this time of year, you don't sleep much. You don't get off the phone much. Your eating habits are terrible. And so it's been much more subdued, and I think one of the reasons why is there are not a lot of these heralded in-state battles for recruits. I think State and Ole Miss both have kind of cast their nets in different waters this year, and ultimately, many of the battles State's won this year. And so I think there is just almost like kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. I think many Mississippi State football fans really have their eye on spring practice, and how Joe Moorhead's going to come in and kind of tweak things and make this a 10-win, 11-win type team. But, yeah, it is signing day tomorrow. It does feel a little bit weird, and, I've had to reach out to some sources and make some phone calls to kind of make some arrangements for tomorrow, and I'll be in Olive Branch tomorrow to watch a couple of signings.
Well, that tells you something right there, doesn't it? So tomorrow I've got a list, and I've got 7 players here who I think State's going to sign. And I just want to go through the list, and I'm going to tell you my list who I think State's going to sign, and you tell me if I'm an idiot or if I'm right. So I think –
Well, you're an idiot anyway, but go ahead.
Oh, jokes are fun, aren't they? Number 1, I think State's going to sign Fabian Lovett, defensive lineman out of Olive Branch. Number 2,
I agree.
I think State's going to sign Nathaniel Watson, a wide receiver tight end from Alabama.
I agree.
Number 3, I think State's going to sign Esias Furge, a cornerback from Clarksdale.
I agree.
Number 4, I think they're going to sign Jalen Reed, a cornerback from Olive Branch.
I agree.
Number 5, I think they might sign Aaron Brule, a safety linebacker from Louisiana.
I expect them to sign him. I'll be somewhat surprised if they don't sign him.
So you're going on board as you think State's going to sign Aaron, which I want to call him Aaron Brule. I do it every time. You think they're going to sign Aaron Brule?
Yeah, I feel good about him today. Now, I may not feel like tonight may be a different story. I mean, because that's recruiting, But as of right now, I feel like the State's in a good position.
I think State has a chance to sign offensive lineman Jalen Robinson out of Kansas.
I feel pretty good about that one. That's kind of an either-or situation in my mind. His dad has family on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and his dad's a big SEC football fan, so that's helpful. Mom would like him to stay a little bit closer to home, being there in Kansas, and so that's one of the things I guess we're figuring out. But there's also no guarantee that he's going to have that opportunity to go to Nebraska tomorrow. He may not even get scholarship paperwork, and so they're expected to take Big Canty up there at Nebraska, and so there's a lot of moving parts to this one. But I could certainly see him signing with State, but he's probably the only one that I don't feel 100% certain about just yet, but I feel pretty good about it.
And lastly, State will sign and place John Corrice Patterson, a wide receiver from Pearl. That is my 7. Did I miss anybody?
Well, I think if Jalen Robinson doesn't sign on with Mississippi State, that State will go ahead and take Cameron Young out of Franklin County High School. He's one of his developmental guys, a guy that's long on potential, long athleticism, and a little light on skill development. I think he's a guy that can play defensive tackle or be an offensive guard for you, kind of dependent on team need. But I think State's got to go out and get some bigger guys, and you've really only got 2 offensive line spots to fill, and I think you're going to do that. But at the same time, when you've got a guy like that out there, you probably need to go get him. So I don't think State will leave that spot on the table. I think if Robinson goes elsewhere, State will make a move with Cam Young.
Overall, you're adding these 7 guys, to 15 that have already signed. I could say the highlights: your Jalen Maiden, the 4-star quarterback out of Texas, the wide receiver trio of Guidry, Heath, and Devontae Jason, Marcus Murphy, who I think is the best signee Mississippi State has from Point City. So you're adding this group to that group. Overall, what are your thoughts on Joe Moorhead's first class?
Well, I think it's probably exceeded expectations, because I think normally when you go through a coaching change like this, you get gutted, especially when there's not a lot of continuity on staff, and I believe it took a little while to put this coaching staff together. And I think that hurt us with some guys like Ladarius Bishop, who had a great relationship with Terrell Buckley and elected to stay on with Arkansas once there was the people here at State. But yeah, I think when you look at the totality of the recruiting process and look at the fact that State was kind of able to hang on to the guys they had to have in December, and if you're able to get the kids from Olive Branch back in the boat, you're able to kind of get these other guys done, and you're able to get one more offensive lineman, I think you can walk away from this feeling like you met your needs with quality players, and you hit spring wide open, having won a bowl game and then probably put together a top 25 recruiting class. And then it's time to get ready for football again. And I think this is, probably one of those stressful situations, because Joe Moorhead, from the day that he walked out of here on the press conference, has pretty much been on the road interviewing coaches and meeting prospects. And so I'm sure he's probably happy to get this behind him and have a sense of normalcy. But I feel really good about where things stand right now, and tomorrow should be a pretty good day for the Bulldogs.
So a couple more questions for you. On the Facebook Live, somebody says, Eddie Smith, ? That's a 4-star cornerback out of Louisiana. It's my opinion he's going to Alabama. Do you have anything to refute that?
Yeah, I mean, unless we get some word tonight that things have changed with him, all indications are that he's going to go ahead and go to Alabama. There was some question that, Surtain might spurn LSU and go to Alabama, but it looks like he's going to go to LSU, which opens up a spot for Eddie Smith in Alabama, which is interesting considering that Eddie Smith's a kid from Louisiana, going to go to Alabama. But that's been a trend with defensive backs there, and they've done right well with them. And so, we'll see what happens, but I don't anticipate Eddie Smith being part of the Mississippi State class.
So 2019, I talked about this last week on the show. It looks like, we signed one offensive lineman that made it to campus from high school last year, signed one so far this year, might sign another one. Offensive line numbers on the team, on this team, fans look forward to 2020 and 21, and they see that there's not a lot of numbers. We're going to have to go heavy on offensive line in 2019, in my opinion. Is that possible?
Yeah, I think you have to. I think you might even have to go out and get a junior college guy or two as a stopgap guy to kind of fill in some gaps in the roster, because, as you mentioned, you signed 3 high school linemen last year, and 2 of those didn't qualify, and I expect one of those guys to not even be pursued going forward. And so then you sign a couple of junior college guys that ultimately redshirt. But you've got a gap in there because you haven't really committed to high school guys. And granted, this year you're only losing Martinez Rankin, and then Ronald Cochran's not expected to be with the team in the spring, so you've only got 2 roster spots to fill. the problem with that is you've got to get some young guys in the pipeline and begin to develop them. And I believe Marcus Johnson, I've met him. He's very, very gregarious and outgoing guy. He's got a great personality. I think he's going to do a great job recruiting for Mississippi State. And I think he'll go out and find those guys, and I think we'll get that remedy next year. But I think you've got it. I think next year you almost have to sign a complete offensive line. You got to get a couple of junior college guys and probably 3 high school guys and begin to develop them and kind of get them ready to be 2 deepers down the road.
Last question. 2019, here we go. As soon as tomorrow's over, we turn our attention to 2019. Is Joe Moorhead and staff ready to hit the ground running with this class?
Yeah, I think so, because I think a lot of the back work has already been done, by Brad Peterson and Rod Gibson and Pat Austin and that recruiting staff that have worked so hard. So I think they've already got a running start into that because they've already identified the prospects. So it's not like they're having to enter the spring evaluation period just kind of blind. I think the staff has done a good job, and fortunately Moorhead was able to retain the recruiting staff by and large, at least the ones that actually worked. And so as a result, those guys have had these boards put together. They know the coaches, they know their relationships, and kind of lay a land around the players. And so I believe your assistant coaches will definitely have a springboard into 2019. It would be great just to get some early 2019 commitments to add to what you already have, because I believe it's going to be a very hotly contested year in the state of Mississippi, not just because of State and Ole Miss, because that's always the case, but there's some premium talent within our borders, and I expect LSU and Tennessee and Alabama to be over here frequently, and I think with the success that Arkansas has had against Mississippi State in this recruiting cycle, you'll see them throw a couple hooks in the water too, and that's something that we don't always see here in Mississippi.
All right, always fun, man. Somebody on Facebook Live says, I love when you have this guy on the show. It's great insight. So always a pleasure to have you here, Steve. I know it's a busy time of the year for you, and we'll probably check back next week, but thanks for being here, man.
Always. Take care, Brandon.
All right, that's Steve Robertson, genespage.com. Fantastic to talk about signing day. State plays men's basketball tonight, and after last night, the huge crowd, the momentum is undeniable both in the athletic department as a whole and for the men's basketball team. They've won 3 in a row, 17-6, 5-5. This is a tipping point tonight. This is big. You win this, you give yourself a chance to start building a tournament case. I don't know if you can build that case yet, but you got to start beating tournament teams, and Alabama is a tournament team. We could have beat them in Tuscaloosa, didn't do it. We got to beat them in Starkville. We got to beat Tennessee in Starkville. We got to start getting some of these RPI building wins. You win this, you've won 4 in a row. You win this, you give reason for fans to come back without any question. Without any question. They'll be there at every game. I hope we have a big crowd. I hope we learned what a crowd can do last night. I hope we can pack them in. We can beat this team. Alabama is good, but they are very inconsistent. They can go on the road, and they can beat Florida. They can go on the road and win these games. They can beat Oklahoma at home, number 5 Oklahoma. But then they lose to Missouri and Tuscaloosa. They are inconsistent. And we had them on the ropes in Tuscaloosa a couple of weeks ago, and now's our chance to really turn the corner and start looking up and not even worry about looking back anymore. Have to win this game. Biggest men's basketball game in the last 7 years at Mississippi State, and it happens tonight. And it's so appropriate that it's Alabama, because when we were rocking and rolling under Stans, even when we were rocking and rolling under Richard Williams, Alabama was always a big-time rivalry in basketball, and I'd love to see that come back. Today's top 5 things that have happened in Mississippi State athletics in the last 5 years. Just think about what has happened over the last 5 years. How amazing it has been to be a State fan, to watch the rise of this women's basketball team, to watch the rise of the football team in 2014, to watch the baseball program go through the transition. I'm just going to go ahead. The top 5 things, this isn't even in order. It's just 5 things that have all happened in the last 5 calendar years. Number 5, Mississippi State has played for 2 national championships in the last 5 years. 2013 baseball, 2017 women's basketball. Now, lost both of them, but showed that it is possible to win national championships in both those sports. We always knew it in baseball, but beating UConn and playing for a national title in women's basketball was a breakthrough that showed fans that if you believe in something, if you believe in a team, they can win a national title. And that's why 11,000 people showed up last night. Number 4, we won an SEC championship in baseball in 2016. After being the worst team in the league in 15, we come back and win the SEC title in baseball. Now, I know gigantic baseball fans inside Mississippi State, and that was an incredible year in 2016. Number 3, We have basically built the greatest baseball stadium outside the major leagues and redone Davis Wade Stadium into a monster in the last 5 years. 2014 is when the renovation opened at Davis Wade Stadium. 2018 and 19 is when Dudy Noble Field, the new one, will open. We have built shrines to football and baseball. Davis Wade Stadium, it is amazing the difference this new renovation made for Mississippi State. And we've been nothing but a good team since. And this baseball stadium will be the best non-major league stadium in the country. Number 2, we ended a 111-game winning streak of UConn. We took down the monster. We made national headlines, not regional, not state, national headlines by beating UConn on one of the most iconic women's basketball shots in that sport's history. Number 1, 5 weeks at number 1 in 2014, Mississippi State, the number 1 team in the country, goes to the Orange Bowl. An incredible 2014. I don't have to tell you everything that happened. You were there. You lived it. It was just we got more national play out of that run to number 1 than we probably ever gotten out of anything out of Mississippi State University. But again, the last 5 years, we played for 2 national titles, went to number 1 in football, had a Heisman contender in football, beat UConn to end a 111-game winning streak, built Dudy Noble Field into a just cathedral, more than it already was, built Davis Wade Stadium into what it is today, won an SEC championship in baseball. I haven't even mentioned going 4-1 in bowls, hosting College Game Day, hiring Ben Howland, hiring John Cohen, the athletic director of the future. I haven't even mentioned all that. It's one hell of a time to be a Mississippi State football and sports fan. One hell of a time to be a Mississippi State fan. I'm going to ring the cowbell. I'm about to ring the cowbell. Oh, see that guy? He's an Ole Miss fan. Watch this. He didn't even check up. Anyway, didn't even look, did he? All right, that's the podcast. We'll be back tomorrow. Boy, I'm fired up. We'll be a little bit later tomorrow. We're going to go 12:45 on the Facebook Live tomorrow, Eastern Time, 11:45 Central, to talk signing day. We're going to give things a little bit of time to breathe, but we will be here. Until next time, my name Brandon. All right. My name is Brandon Walker. You've been listening to More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country. What I want to know is how I can talk for 30 minutes, and every single time I get to that line to close the show, I botch it. I blow it up.
It's like really every time, too.
It's every time.
Like, come on.
I didn't even get – I messed up on the second word this time.
My name Brandon.
Podcast good. Fire bad. All right. What we got here? Great job on the list. Thank you, Bob Giles. I appreciate that. What do you guys want to talk about today? Yes, it is. Hail State. Great job on the list. Oh, I've already read that one. Could you imagine what baseball would have looked like if Hunter Renfrow and Brent Rooker would have been on the same team? Pretty good, I'd say, Frank Carter. Pretty good. It was pretty good anyway. Played for a national title with Hunter Renfrow, won an SEC title with Brent Rooker. Will we keep singing Don't Stop Believing? I do not think so, Lori Fulgham Garrick. I do not think so. I think that'll probably be Dan Mullen's thing. We'll let that die with the Dan Mullen era. Along with no showing in Alabama games, hopefully. So glad you came on last night. My husband finally got a chance to listen to you, Jessica M. Balsey, checking in from, I believe, West Virginia. Thank you. I was at home after the game, and I was fired up. I was pumped up because we just won. And my wife looked at me and said, "Are you going to go on Facebook Live?" And I hadn't thought about it. So I came on, and we had a couple hundred people there. I've got about 5,000 views so far, so it did real well. Thank you. Print the line and put it on camera in front of you in big letters, says Steve C. I don't think that, by the way, Steve C., I just finished off a box of candy today. I think was it Land Sharks candy or Terps candy I finished off today? It was Land Sharks.
Definitely mine.
Was yours too?
Yeah, it was both.
Was one of those taffy? I tasted banana in that chocolate. It was good. Hail State from Houston, Texas. Hello, Jason Rogers. What's wrong with our current basketball arena? It's a product we have to improve, not the facility. Cameron Indoor is something. Cameron Indoor is a dump. I've been there. Wayman Hodge. There's nothing wrong with our basketball facility. Now, I think for big crowds, the outdoor concourse is a little overwhelmed, so that's probably a problem. But as far as inside the arena, where the basketball is played, it's as good as there is in the Southeastern Conference. But fan experience-wise, I'm sure that outdoor concourse, there's not enough concessions, not enough bathrooms, not enough room. If they would open that up, it would go a long way. Asked last night as well, does Vic have enough to keep us dominant after our seniors move on, says Ryan McMichael. So maybe we do we're going to take a step back next year. Now, whether that means taking a step out of the tournament, I don't think so. But look at his recruiting. I mean, he's got 2 5-star 6'5" players coming in next year. He's after a 5-star UConn transfer. So even if they take a step back for a second, he's just reloading the roster. He's just reloading the roster with 5-star talent. He doesn't even bother with 4 stars. Just all 5-star with this guy. The picture prior to the game looked awesome. Yeah, the whiteout did look really good. Tim Frank says, when is the helmet auction? I'll have to go through my company to see how they want to do it because, I don't own this helmet. But I do want to see what we can do to raise some money with it. I love the direction our team is going. I was referring to a statement someone made of us needing a new arena. Thank you, Wayman Hodge. Yeah, I knew that's what you were talking about. We could use a new arena. I mean, football's got basically a new stadium. It's not a new stadium, but they did what they could with it. Baseball has what they have now, which is incredible. Basketball could use a new one, but also I love the hump too. So if we've got the millions, if we got $40 million laying around that isn't earmarked for something, then I would like to build a new one, but I'm also good with the hump. You could fix the hump just by opening up that outdoor concourse. The coach's tribute to the fans last night was powerful. Mississippi State showed the nation how great a place it is. I'm glad you said that. When he got that mic, first of all, the mic was working the whole time and he couldn't figure it out. But when he got that mic and he said, the whole nation saw what Mississippi State's about tonight, I got goosebumps. And I guess that's why I talk about the golden age and I talk about all this stuff. The people we've hired have put Mississippi State on a national map so frequently lately that the nation has seen what State's all about. They saw it when Morgan Williams hit that shot. They saw it last night when we put 11,000 people in there for a Monday night game. They see it on Saturdays. They see it on Sundays when Dak Prescott represents us the way he does. They've seen it in baseball, our commitment to what we're doing. I just love Mississippi State. I love everything about Mississippi State. I love who we are. I'm fired up now. I'm giving a political speech. I could probably run for governor right now. I don't think I'd get the Ole Miss vote, but I could run for supervisor in Octavia County and quit clapping. Got to average more than 3 or 4,000 people at a game. That's coming, Jay Hammers. It's coming. Fans it takes a lot of effort to get to a game, especially for our fan base. A lot of them are in Jackson, 2 hours away. It takes a lot of effort. They're not going to come to watch a loss. They're not going to come to watch a team score 55 points and lose. But now that it's going the right direction, it will come up. Do you think the women's basketball team would beat the men's basketball team? No, Jason Rogers, they would not. They would lose by 60. Best combined record in college basketball, 41-6, is tops in the nation. Villanova is second with a 40-6 record. That's impressive. Wow, that is impressive, Bob Giles. Did you spill your water today? Nope. Got it right here.
I just watched that clip from yesterday. That was pretty funny. You can see it on the other camera.
No, yeah, and nobody on the show really, there's no comments saying, uh-oh.
I was like laughing out loud.
Yeah.
I watched it 3 times.
It just dove off.
And then you just look at it. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Is tonight's game televised? Yes, it is televised. I think it's on SEC Network, but I could be wrong. I think our best hire was John Cohen as AD, says Junior Ray. So the best hire was probably Greg Byrne, who got this thing rolling, but John Cohen, an incredible hire too. But there's been, let's be honest, the best hire, and I don't want to give Scott Strickland credit for anything because, I'm still mad at him. The best hire was Vic Schaefer. That's not even a debate. That's not even a close debate. Vic Schaefer is the best hire in the history, pound for pound, of this program. The entire athletic program. Give Terp a raise, says Michael Clyburn.
Yes.
That would require us to start paying him, and I'm not committed to doing that. Hail State from Lakeland, Tennessee. Hello, Phil Everett. Thanks for being here. If not, you should, and if we win tonight, you should spray water every time we have a big game. I didn't think about that, but if I were to spill water today and we won, then I would probably be spilling water all over myself every day. Any reason to fear Vic leaving for another gig at any point? If so, where would he go? So Texas A&M, I think, is always the fear here. But the way he's built it, I hope that State has its hooks into him and he has his hooks into us. I hope that he retires here whenever he retires. I think we can all hope that. I don't know. I don't know the answer. I don't know if anybody knows it other than Vic Schaefer. But last night tells you that John Cohen, I mean, whatever Vic Schaefer wants, give it to him. Top 5, what was Brandon's number 1? I missed it. It was going to number 1 in 2014. Spending 5 weeks at number 1 in football. Let Terp sit on a Sears catalog. That will give him a raise.
Haha.
Shut up, Terp. How was New York?
It was awesome. It was a lot of fun.
Really? Did y'all stay in an apartment and play 2K all weekend?
No.
Did you see your ex-girlfriend?
Nope.
You didn't? I thought she was part of the friend group.
She is.
She wasn't there?
Nope.
A&M has deep pockets. They do. They do. But yes, you know what? I think we make too much of that. Everybody has deep pockets these days. Everybody does, including us. We're building stuff just to build it. Still flying high after last night. Praise the Lord, go Dogs, says Shirley Williams. Shannon Davis says, is everyone being nice to Terp because they feel sorry for him never having a girlfriend?
I don't get it.
Oh, Shannon Davis. Have you always been Shannon Davis?
Yeah.
There was another Shannon that was messing.
He comments he's on his forklift every day.
Oh, is that the Shannon? Oh, there's multiple Shannons. We have multiple Shannons.
Yeah,
we have Shannon Davis and Shannon Lisenby. Yeah. Okay. Just imagine Jack calling that game last night. Goosebumps. Mac McBrayer. Yeah. I agree. Absolute goosebump. Vic would be an all-time legend if he stays at State. Steven Stafford. Vic Schaefer is an all-time legend right now. Right now. No question. The good thing, I think the best part about Vic Schaefer, you know, maybe he wants to leave, or maybe at some point he would leave. I don't know. Whatever. But the way he's recruiting, he's building another team that can possibly contend for a national title after this one. So he's certainly not building like a man who has his eyes on doing anything else. McGowan was about to put that young lady in her place if she kept hitting her for the foul. Can't believe Dawn got upset when she informed her players to do so. How do you get a foul? I know Tierra McCowan kind of pushed her a little bit, but she's 6'7". If she wanted to push her, she'd have pushed her. This girl's over here, you know, catfighting with her and hitting her like a little sister, and she got tired of it, and the ref's like, okay, foul on both of you. What? How's that? Officiating in basketball is god-awful. Do you think we come out strong in tomorrow's signing class? Strong? I think we'll sign Fabian Lovett, which is good. I think we'll sign other players that have been committed to us for a while. I don't think we're going to sign Eddie Smith or any surprises, but I think we'll finish the way we need to finish. I think overall we'll be a top 25 class, and it'll be a good transition class. More than that, more than the numbers or the rankings, State, for the most part, outside of offensive line, met its needs. State went out and got a quarterback of the future. They went out and got the receiver help they needed immediately and for the future. And they got defensive pieces like Marcus Murphy and hopefully Fabian Lovett. So you got what you needed in this class. Regarding next year's women's team, don't forget we have a 5-star All-American point guard who was redshirted this year. Yes, from Olive Branch. I forget her name off the top of my head. It's Alea. Somebody help me out. Somebody's going to help me on Facebook Live. Ole Miss class is about as good as ours. I don't care. Michael Clyburn. I don't care about Ole Miss's class. Not even a little bit. If they finish ahead of us in recruiting, so be it. We got what we needed. Taylor, thank you. Maya Taylor, thank you. The double foul was a complete waste of time. It was really stupid, Steve C. There's so much momentum. 3 minutes left in that game. The crowd's going crazy, and the refs say, hold on, timeout. We got to talk for 5 minutes. Who would win in a pickup game between you and Macau? Oh, me. Me. All day long.
And you and who?
Tierra McCowan, the 6'7" player from Mississippi State.
Oh.
Oh, I know. And Joseph Pollard knows. He knows. He's the one that asked the question. He knows.
I could beat you.
Huh?
I could beat you.
In what?
Basketball. Easy. I'm just going to mute you next time you laugh.
All right. Somebody. What? Hold on. So the question was who would win a pickup game between you or McCowan, and Shannon Lisby says it depends on what you guys are picking up. It's pretty good. The Shannons. It's the Shannon show here. Shannon and Shannon. These Shannons are sharp.
Nice.
Thanks. She would dribble his head, says Steve C. Steve, that's why I'm mad at you. Because, hey, you send candy to everybody but me. Thank you for the bell, though. Thank you. If the girls went out, probability of us getting stuck in the same side of the bracket as UConn. Not at all. I don't think so. Because they do seed them, right? They seed them like 1, 2, 3, 4. So UConn would be 1 and we'd be 2. So I don't think we would be seeded to meet them in the national title game. Unless UConn loses a game and then we go to number 1 at some point. Although UConn has so many first place votes, they have all of them. I can see them losing to Louisville and still being number 1. That's how sad it is. Anyway, don't get me started. Thank you, Chad Mask. I appreciate that. How many times would you dunk on Terp if y'all played one-on-one? An infinite amount.
0.
An infinite amount.
You just get
it would never stop.
And I would send that ball flying.
You would send the ball flying.
Yes.
But you'll make a paper airplane out of it?
I'm going to swat it.
Swat it.
Yeah.
You're 5'3".
Since when? Add a foot onto that.
You're not 6'3".
Yeah, and then mine subtract 2 inches.
Okay. So we're adding and then subtracting.
Yeah.
You couldn't just say add 10 inches. You had to say add a foot and then subtract. Okay. All right. Okay. Good. I am hungry today. I got to go over to Cox and eat. I'm hungry. I got to go to the cafeteria. All right. Good stuff. Thanks for being here. Great day. Signing day tomorrow. Steve Robertson was fantastic. Women's basketball is fantastic. Tonight, big time. Let's see what happens. Again, we'll be an hour late tomorrow, 12:45 Eastern, 11:45 Central for signing day. The signing day spectacular, and we'll hopefully talk about a Mississippi State win over Alabama. And until next time, my name is Brandon Walker. You've been watching More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country.